The terrifying and incredible life story of King Pharaoh. A king who said, "O Bana Israel, I am your greatest creator. You must worship me alone." A king whose body has amazingly stayed untouched for 3,000 years. He could eat a young camel in one day, but he never got sick. But his strength began to poison him. The most cruel ruler of ancient Egypt. A king who went against Allah and his prophet, Musa. The cursed king destroyed by Allah. The worst criminal of Jahannam. Pharaoh. Once again, we bring you a shocking story. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video to support us. You can suggest any story. We might turn it into a video for the channel. If you're ready, let's begin. Pharaoh is mentioned 74 times in the Quran, mostly in connection with oppression and arrogance. He ruled the entire land with the help of his loyal and hard-working servants. As the days passed, alongside the growing power of MUSA, he strengthened his reign significantly. With this unbelievable power, he imposed every decision upon the people without resistance, further inflaming his arrogance. According to the customs of that time, Pharaoh was seen as a deity, and worship in all temples was directed toward him. He himself began to believe in this falsehood. He thought of himself as a god worthy of worship, and believed that he was the creator of everything. Oblivious to what awaited him, he continued his life, oppressing people and indulging in pleasure. But there was one thing he had forgotten. Allah's judgment upon him was near. A judgment that would serve as a lesson for all of humanity. Let us take a look at the land of MUSA, where this historic event, a lesson for all times, took place. The Nile River was one of the lifelines of the kingdom. Located in MUSA, the Nile is among the largest rivers in the world. It is known for almost never drying up, even in summer, and for its immense length. The river enriched the soil with minerals, making it fertile. Bringing water to the dry desert lands, the Nile transformed the area into a region abundant in crops. MUSA flourished and continued to grow. With livestock farming and maritime trade, the kingdom expanded its economic wealth even further. While Pharaoh lived in his palace, the people, especially the slaves, worked relentlessly to maintain this system. During the time of Pharaoh, slaves were responsible for all the hard labor, from agricultural work to construction. At one point, Yusuf alayhi salam had served as a vizier in Misr and had introduced the belief in Tawhid, the oneness of Allah. However, after his passing, Misr gradually reverted to its old pagan beliefs. Out of revenge, the Bana Israel, the people of Yusuf alayhi salam, were enslaved and subjected to great suffering. Pharaoh had advisors who helped him rule the kingdom. Among them were Karun and Haman. Karun had gone astray due to his wealth and arrogance, while Haman was known for following the wrong path for his own interests. The rapid increase in the male population of Bana Israel due to frequent births encouraged Pharaoh to carry out a cruel plan. His advisors supported and emboldened him in this decision. Pharaoh feared that, in case of war, Bana Israel might gain power and overthrow his rule. This fear led him to order the killing of all newborn male infants. A dream deeply disturbed Pharaoh and pushed him toward this horrific decision. According to a narration from Abdullah ibn Abbas and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Pharaoh dreamed of a fire rising from the direction of Quds, burning everything except Banu Israel. Upon waking, he consulted dream interpreters, fortune tellers, and sorcerers. They interpreted the dream as a warning that a child from Banu Israel would cause the downfall of his kingdom. As a result, Pharaoh ordered the mass execution of all newborn male children from Banu Israel. Musa alayhi salam was a descendant of Yaqub alayhi salam and was born in Misr. His father was Imran and his brother was Harun alayhi salam. At birth, a radiant light shone from the blessed forehead of Musa alayhi salam. Witnessing this, the midwife who delivered him was struck with awe and admiration. Musa alayhi salam is the most frequently mentioned prophet in the Quran. His name appears in 34 surahs, across 131 ayat, and in 136 places. When considering indirect references to him, the number of verses reaches 502. Musa alayhi salam was a strong, powerful, and large-built man. He had straight hair, a broad physique, and was known most for his noble character, purity, and modesty. With Pharaoh's command, soldiers set out to carry out the execution orders. Musa alayhi salam's mother was helpless against the cruel men who sought to kill her newborn son. There was nothing she could do except turn to Allah with a sincere prayer. She knew that only Allah could save her and her child from this disaster. At that moment, Allah inspired her with divine guidance, which is described in the Quran as follows: "Nurse him, but if you fear for his safety, cast him into the river. Do not be afraid or sad, for we will return him to you and make him one of our prophets." With this inspiration, the heart of Musa alayhi salam's mother was filled with peace. She fed her child one last time as the soldiers approached their home. Without hesitation, she placed her beloved son in a small cradle and set it afloat on the Nile, completely trusting in Allah. Allah would honor her trust with a beautiful reward. She would not only be reunited with her son, but also become the mother of a prophet. Meanwhile, Musa alayhi salam's sister secretly followed the floating cradle as it drifted down the river. The small cradle, carried by the currents, reached the front of Pharaoh's palace. As the cradle floated down the river, our mother Asiya, the wife of Pharaoh, noticed it. She was a woman of deep faith who endured immense suffering under the tyranny of Pharaoh. Asiya is one of the 4 most virtuous women of Jannah. When she approached the cradle and lifted the cover, she was astonished. Inside lay a beautiful baby with a radiant face, unaware of everything happening around him. At that moment, her heart filled with peace and love. The child was so endearing that it felt as if his love traveled straight into her heart. With her noble character and wisdom, she immediately went to her husband, Pharaoh. She told him that she loved this child and asked him not to harm him. This moment is described in the Quran as follows: Pharaoh's wife said, "He will be a comfort to my eyes and yours. Do not kill him. Perhaps he will benefit us, or we may adopt him as our son." But they did not realize what was to come. By Allah's wisdom, Pharaoh remained calm and agreed. With this, Musa alayhi salam began to grow up in the palace. Despite all the obstacles, by Allah's will, the baby ended up in the very palace of the one who had ordered the execution of all male infants. As time passed, a new problem arose. The baby refused to nurse from any wet nurse. Meanwhile, Musa alayhi salam's sister had been secretly following the cradle and quickly stepped in. She approached the guards and said, "There is a woman I know who may be able to nurse him." She was referring to his real mother. This event is described in the Quran. And the mother of Musa said to his sister, "Follow him." So she watched him from a distance while they were unaware. We had already forbidden him from nursing from any woman, so his sister said, "Shall I direct you to a family who will care for him for you and treat him well?" Thus, they accepted her offer. After rejecting many wet nurses, baby Musa accepted the milk of his own mother. Unaware of this truth, our mother Asiya rejoiced that the child had finally found someone to nurse from. By Allah's decree, Musa alayhi salam grew up in Fir'aun's palace under the care of his real mother. Fir'aun's vizier Haman became suspicious. "Is this child truly yours?" he asked. "He refuses to nurse from any other woman but you." To dispel doubt, Musa alayhi salam's mother cleverly responded, "For some reason, all children love me, and I love them." Her words convinced Haman, and she was even given a salary and gold for nursing the child. This was one of Allah's great blessings. Allah describes this moment in the Quran. "Had we not strengthened the heart of his mother, she would have revealed the secret, but we did so that she would be among those who believe in our promise." One day, while growing up in the palace, an extraordinary event occurred. Fir'aun held baby Musa in his arms, but suddenly Musa pulled on Fir'aun's beard and slapped him. Fir'aun was shocked and frightened. "This is the enemy I have been waiting for," he exclaimed. Even as a child, Musa alayhi salam unsettled Fir'aun. Our mother Asiya immediately intervened and said, "He is just a child. He does not know what he is doing. If you wish, test him. Place a bowl of jewels and a bowl of burning coal before him. If he chooses the jewels, he is intelligent. If he chooses the fire, he is just a baby." Fir'aun agreed. 2 bowls were placed before Musa alayhi salam, one filled with precious gems and the other with burning coals. As Musa alayhi salam reached for the jewels, Jibril alayhi salam intervened by nudging his hand. Instead, Musa picked up a burning coal and put it into his mouth. The fire burned his tongue, leaving him with a slight speech impediment. Seeing this, Fir'aun let him go, convinced that he was just a child. Thus, Musa alayhi salam remained in the palace for many years, growing up under Allah's protection. All of Misr was under the rule of Fir'aun. The people were divided into rigid social classes under his command. He held absolute power over administration, military, law, and religion. Fir'aun was a cruel tyrant. His brutality was so extreme that he would impale people on stakes and have them split in half for punishment. It is said that he lived for 400 years. Not only was he never sick, but his teeth never bled either. He was not particularly tall, but he wore majestic and luxurious clothing. His youth seemed to be renewed constantly, as he never aged. His health was so strong that he could eat an entire young camel in one sitting. Due to his unique digestion, he only needed to relieve himself once every 40 days. In the Quran, the title Fir'aun refers specifically to the king of Misr during the time of Musa alayhi salam. In contrast, during the time of Yusuf alayhi salam, the rulers were referred to as Rab or Malik instead of Fir'aun. Fir'aun is described as a proud and arrogant ruler who, like Qarun, became filled with vanity and even claimed divinity. He oppressed the weak, looked down on his people, and turned his back on the truth. His complete control over every aspect of the kingdom further inflated his arrogance. One of Fir'aun's men, Fatun, was a cruel baker from the Kiptwez. One day, he was seen beating a man from Banu Israel named Samir. Samir called out to Musa alayhi salam for help. Musa intervened, pushing Fatun aside and striking him. However, with just a single blow, Fatun fell to the ground and died. Musa alayhi salam was deeply saddened. He had no intention of killing him. His only goal was to protect Samir. In his sorrow, he turned to Allah in repentance, seeking forgiveness. The Quran describes this moment as follows. Musa entered the city unnoticed by its people. He found 2 men fighting, one from his own people and the other from his enemies. The one from his people asked for his help against the enemy. Musa struck the man and caused his death. He then said, "This is the work of Shaitan. Indeed, he is a clear enemy who misleads. At the time, Musa alayhi salam had been calling people to the oneness of Allah, which angered the Qibtis. This is why he entered the city at a time when most people had retreated to their homes. When Musa alayhi salam said, "This is the work of Shaitan," he was not referring to his own action, but rather to the crime of the Qibtir man, who had already deserved punishment. Still, since he had not been commanded by Allah to kill him, he repented for his unintended action. "O my Rabb, I have wronged myself. Forgive me." Allah forgave him, for he is the most forgiving, the most merciful. Musa alayhi salam then made a promise. "By the favor my Rabb has granted me, I will never support criminals or those who lead others to sin." The Qibtis complained to Fir'aun, demanding that the murderer of Fatun be found. Fir'aun asked for witnesses, but no one could present any. Failing to identify the killer, Fir'aun left the city. However, the next day, Musa alayhi salam saw the same man, Samir, fighting with another Qibti. Again, Samira asked Musa for help. Musa, feeling uneasy, said, "You are truly a troublemaker." As Musa moved to separate them, the Qibti man suddenly shouted, "O Musa, are you going to kill me as you killed someone yesterday? It seems you want to be a tyrant, not someone who brings peace." The news quickly spread, and one of Fir'aun's advisors secretly warned Musa. As the Quran describes, then a man came running from the farthest part of the city, saying, "O Musa, the leaders are planning to kill you. Leave immediately. I am truly advising you for your own good." Musa alayhi salam escaped the city, praying, "O my Rabb, save me from the wrongdoing people." Musa alayhi salam's actions demonstrate the true meaning of tawakkul, trust in Allah, consulting and seeking advice, making a firm decision, taking necessary precautions, leaving the final outcome to Allah, praying with sincerity and accepting Allah's decree. According to Fakhr ad-Din al-Razi, Musa alayhi salam never intended to kill the Qibti. Furthermore, since the Qibti was a polytheist, the concept of qisas, equal retribution, did not apply to him in the same way. Additionally, since the incident happened by mistake, qisas was not required. Musa alayhi salam grew into a young man known for his honesty and noble character, leaving a strong impression on those around him. Meanwhile, his people were suffering under severe oppression. Allah chose Musa alayhi salam as a prophet to free Bani Israel from slavery. He was commanded to go to Fir'aun and invite the arrogant ruler, who claimed to be a god, to bow before the Rabb of the heavens and the earth. Despite the difficulty of this mission, Allah made it easier for him. He sent Musa's brother Harun alayhi salam to assist him. Together they went to Fir'aun. Upon seeing him, Fir'aun asked mockingly, "Who are you?" Musa alayhi salam replied, "I am the messenger of the Rabb of all worlds." Fir'aun was shocked. Instead of listening, he reminded Musa of the favors he had done for him in the past, accusing him angrily. "Did we not raise you as a child and care for you? Did you not live among us for many years? Then you committed that crime. You killed a man. You are an ungrateful person." The Quran describes their conversation. "Remember when your Rabb called upon Musa, 'Go to the wrongdoers, to the people of Fir'aun. Will they not stop their oppression?' Musa expressed his fears. "Oh, my Rabb, I fear they will call me a liar. My chest tightens and my tongue does not flow easily. So appoint Harun as a messenger alongside me. Also, I am wanted for a crime among them. I fear they will kill me." Allah reassured him, "No, it will not happen. Both of you go with our signs. We are with you, hearing everything. Go to Fir'aun and say, 'We are the messengers of the Rabb of all worlds. Let Bani Israel go with us.'" Fir'aun continued questioning him, bringing up the past. "Did we not raise you in our care as a child? Did you not live with us for many years, and then you killed a man? You are truly ungrateful." Musa alayhi salam replied, "I did not kill him intentionally. It was unintentional, and I did not know the consequences of my action. When I feared for my life, I fled from you. Later, my Rabb blessed me with wisdom and made me one of his prophets. As for your so-called favor, was it not a result of you enslaving Banu Israel?" Fir'aun then asked mockingly, "And who is this Rabb of all worlds?" Musa alayhi salam answered, "He is the Rabb of the heavens, the earth, and everything between them, if you would believe." Fir'aun turned to the people around him and asked sarcastically, "Did you hear what he just said?" Musa alayhi salam continued, "He is your Rabb and the Rabb of your forefathers." Fir'aun dismissed him as insane. "Your so-called messenger is surely mad." Musa alayhi salam did not stop. "He is the Rabb of the East, the West, and everything between them, if only you would use your intellect." At this, Fir'aun's anger boiled over. "If you take any god besides me, I will throw you into prison." Musa alayhi salam replied, "Even if I bring you clear proof?" Fir'aun challenged him, "Then bring it, if you are truthful." At that moment, Musa alayhi salam cast his staff upon the ground. It suddenly turned into a living serpent. Then he drew his hand from his cloak, and it shone with a dazzling white light for all to see. Fir'aun devised a cunning plan in an attempt to humiliate Musa alayhi salam before a massive crowd. He believed that by using his magicians, he could defeat Musa alayhi salam and prove his so-called divinity. To prepare for this, Fir'aun made an announcement throughout Misr and summoned the most skilled sorcerers he could find. 70 of the greatest magicians from across the world were gathered in Misr. Before the big event, the chief magician ordered his men to observe Musa alayhi salam to gather information about him. As they watched, they saw something extraordinary. Musa alayhi salam was sleeping, yet his staff was moving on its own as if standing guard. This sight shocked the magicians, and they quickly reported it to their chief. Upon hearing this, the chief magician turned pale with fear. "A magician's staff cannot move while he sleeps. Magic does not work when the sorcerer is unconscious. Be careful, this man may not be a magician at all." The magicians began to doubt their chances of victory, yet their ambition to win Fir'aun's favor led them to proceed with the challenge, despite knowing deep down that they could not defeat Musa alayhi salam. The great challenge begins. The much-anticipated day of the great confrontation arrived. Fir'aun gathered hundreds of thousands of people in a vast open space. The magicians stood ready, holding their ropes, staffs, and magical tools. Fir'aun commanded them, "Begin! Defeat Musa." The magicians threw their ropes and staffs onto the ground, and suddenly they appeared to transform into slithering serpents. Seeing this, Fir'aun was overjoyed. For a moment, Musa alayhi salam felt uneasy at the sight of the moving objects. But then Allah strengthened his heart and commanded him, "Throw down what is in your right hand." Musa alayhi salam obeyed. As soon as he cast his staff onto the ground, it transformed into a mighty serpent, so massive that it covered the entire field. It devoured everything the magicians had created. The entire arena fell into silence. Fir'aun was horrified. While the magicians were overwhelmed with shock, they immediately recognized that what they had just witnessed was not magic. It was a divine miracle from Allah. They fell to their knees and cried out together, "We believe in the Rabb of Musa and Harun." Fir'aun's wrath. Fir'aun was enraged at what had just happened. "How dare you believe in him without my permission?" he roared. In his fury, he threatened them. "I will cut off your hands and feet on opposite sides. Then I will crucify all of you." Yet the magicians did not waver. They stood firm in their faith and fearlessly responded, "You are only punishing us because we believed in our Rabb when the truth came to us. O our Rabb, pour patience upon us and take our souls as believers. Thus they embraced martyrdom, sacrificing their lives for their faith. Fir'aun's tyranny grows. Seeing that his threats had failed, Fir'aun turned to his officials. They asked him, "Will you allow Musa and his people to cause disorder in the land? Will you let them abandon you and your gods?" Fir'aun reassured them, "Do not worry. We will kill all their sons and keep their daughters alive to serve us. We are far stronger than them and will crush them under our rule." Hearing this, Banu Israel complained to Musa, alayhi salam, "We were oppressed before you came, and we are still being tortured now." Musa alayhi salam comforted them, "Perhaps your Rabb will soon destroy your enemies and make you rulers of the land. Then he will see how you act." Regardless of what Fir'aun plotted, Allah's decree was certain. Even though most of Banu Israel feared Fir'aun's cruelty, a small group of them sincerely believed in Musa alayhi salam. This was because Fir'aun was a ruthless tyrant who ruled with terror and oppression. Musa alayhi salam urged his people, "O my people, if you truly believe in Allah and submit to Him, then place your trust in Him alone." They responded, "We trust only in Allah. O our Rabb, do not let us fall under the oppression of these wrongdoers. Save us through your mercy from these disbelievers." Allah's command to Musa alayhi salam. Allah revealed a command to Musa and Harun alayhi salam. "Prepare homes for your people in Misra. Make your homes places of worship and establish your prayers. Give glad tidings to the believers." Musa alayhi salam then made a powerful dua, saying, "O my Rabb, you have given Fir'aun and his people wealth and splendor in this worldly life. Is this so they can lead people astray from your path? O my Rabb, take away their wealth and harden their hearts, so they will not believe until they see the painful punishment." Allah answered, "Your prayers have been accepted, so remain steadfast and do not follow the ways of the ignorant." Fir'aun's stubbornness led to a series of devastating calamities that shook the very foundations of his empire. Due to his defiance against Allah's messenger, Fir'aun and his people suffered from years of drought and famine. Then Allah sent upon them a flood, locusts, pests, frogs, and blood as a punishment. This is clearly stated in the Quran. "So we sent upon them the flood, locusts, lice, frogs, and blood as distinct signs, but they remained arrogant and were a wicked people." Al-Araf 7:133. These punishments were terrifying and unlike anything they had ever seen before. For years, drought destroyed the lush green lands of Misr. Then, a massive storm approached. The Nile River had overflowed in the past, but this was no ordinary flood. The ground, having lost its ability to absorb water, failed to contain the heavy rains, causing massive floods. For days, the rain continued without stopping. No one could leave their homes, and the overflowing Nile wiped out houses, crops, and livestock. In desperation, Fir'aun's men went to Musa alayhi salam, begging him, "Pray to your Rabb to remove this disaster from us, and we will believe in you." Musa alayhi salam prayed, and by Allah's mercy, the flood came to an end. However, Fir'aun and his people broke their promise once again. The locust plague. After the flood, the people of Misr did not fulfill their pledge and continued in disbelief. The heavy rains and floods had created the perfect conditions for locusts to breed. As a result, a massive locust swarm descended upon the land. This merciless swarm ravaged their crops and destroyed their food supply. Empty fields and starvation became the price for Fir'aun's arrogance. The people of Misr watched in terror as their livelihoods were wiped away. Yet despite seeing his people suffer, Fir'aun refused to humble himself. The locust plague was a warning. The punishments would not stop until they surrendered to Allah's will. The frog invasion. The land was in ruins and the people were in distress. Meanwhile, Fir'aun, watching the chaos unfold from his palace, remained stubborn in his disbelief. Then Allah sent another punishment. Frogs began to spread from the Nile across the entire kingdom. Unlike ordinary frogs, these were massive in size and seemed to be challenging Fir'aun's arrogance. As the invasion intensified, life in Misr came to a halt. Frogs covered homes, marketplaces, and palaces. They even climbed onto people's clothes, making it impossible to escape them. The situation became unbearable. People could not sleep due to the deafening sounds of the frogs. Witnessing this terrifying ordeal, many began to lose faith in Fir'aun. But once again, instead of repenting, they went to Musa alayhi salam and pleaded, "O Musa, pray to your Rabb for us, as he has promised you. If he removes this punishment, we will surely believe in you and allow Bani Israel to leave with you." Yet, after every disaster was lifted, Fir'aun and his people returned to their arrogance. They failed to take heed, and more punishments awaited them. Day by day, the number of believers increased, but they needed to escape the tyranny of Fir'aun. It was a difficult decision, but for the sake of leaving behind a faithful generation, Musa alayhi salam and his people decided to flee from Misr. Fir'aun and his army soon realized what was happening and immediately set out to chase them. It was a dangerous journey between life and death, but their unshakable faith in Allah gave them the strength to move forward. When they reached the Red Sea, Fir'aun and his army had caught up with them. Before them was the vast sea, impossible to cross, and behind them was the ruthless Fir'aun and his army. Musa alayhi salam, in desperation, turned to Allah in prayer. Then Allah commanded him to strike the sea with his staff. As soon as Musa alayhi salam obeyed, the sea miraculously split in two, creating a clear pathway for them to cross. The Bani Israel, witnessing this incredible miracle, crossed safely to the other side. Even after witnessing this sign, Fir'aun's arrogance remained. Instead of humbling himself, he ordered his army to follow through the parted sea. But as Fir'aun and his men moved forward, Allah commanded the waters to return. The mighty waves came crashing down upon them, swallowing Fir'aun and his army whole. Fir'aun's last moments and his belated faith. Fir'aun and his army were now wiped from history. The Quran describes this moment. And we took Bani Israel across the sea, but Fir'aun and his army pursued them with oppression and hostility, until when he was drowning he said, "I believe that there is no God except the one whom Bani Israel believe in, and I am of those who submit." Yunus 10:90. As he was about to drown, Fir'aun finally admitted his helplessness, but his faith came too late. Since he had spent his entire life rejecting Allah, his last-minute belief was not accepted. It was said to him, "Now, but before this, you were rebellious and among the corrupt. Today, we will preserve your body so that you may be a sign for those who come after you." Yet, many people remain heedless of our signs. Yunus 10:91-92. Fir'aun had spent his life leading his people to destruction, and now he was leading them to the fire. The Quran states, "On the day of judgment, Fir'aun will lead his people forward into the fire. What a terrible destination! They were cursed in this world and will be cursed on the day of judgment. What a wretched fate!" Hud 11:98-99. Fir'aun allowed his arrogance to destroy him. By denying the creator of all worlds, he claimed to be a false god. But in the end, he and his army were drowned beneath the crashing waves. Meanwhile, Allah saved those who had faith in him. Bani Israel, once oppressed and humiliated, were granted the lands of abundance and blessings. As the Quran states, "We made the people who had been oppressed inherit the lands of the east and the west, which we blessed. The good promise of your Rabb was fulfilled for Bani Israel because of their patience, and we destroyed what Fir'aun and his people had built and all they had established." Al-Araf 7:1-37, a sign for generations to come. In 1881, an English research team made a shocking discovery. While digging near Jabalain, they found a remarkably preserved body, even though it had never been mummified. Tests revealed that the body was over 3,000 years old. It belonged to none other than the arrogant Fir'aun who once claimed divinity. His lifeless body remains a powerful reminder of Allah's justice. Even though Allah saved Bani Israel from Fir'aun's oppression, they later fell into disbelief despite receiving endless blessings. May Allah protect us from arrogance and from being among those who reject the truth for personal gain. This video needs your support to reach more people. Every subscriber helps heal another wounded heart. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. May Allah bless you all. See you in the next video. May Allah protect you.